Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. So you'll have seen from the title that this video is not your normal makeup video. I have decided that I wanted to make a video about my various knitting and crocheting projects that I have on the go, and things I've been doing relating to knitting and crocheting. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I was teaching myself to crochet last year. Something just came over me and I wanted to learn to crochet. I wanted to learn something different, and so I decided to start watching videos on YouTube to teach myself how to crochet. So I've been doing that since last year, probably around maybe July time. I'm not perfectly sure, but I wanted to just learn a new skill, and crochet was something that I tried as a child, which was a very long time ago, and I didn't really get into it then. But then I think I saw someone on a bus. I was on my way to work and I saw somebody on a bus doing an amigurumi, I can't say it properly, one of those little toys, and I got chatting to her and she said it was quite easy to do. And so from then I thought, actually I'd quite like to learn to do some crocheting. It looks pretty easy, one needle, pretty kind of transportable, something I could do on my way to work and stuff like that. So I thought I'd give it a go. So I started to teach myself to crochet, watching videos on YouTube, and I bought a book from the works to kind of teach myself from that as well. And so I picked up a few I don't know, I've picked up some crocheting techniques, and I have been able to make a few things. I created myself an Instagram channel called Ellinesscrafts if you want to see what I have been making or have made. I've posted pictures on there of the things that I've made, crocheting and knitting, so you can check that out if you're interested in seeing what I've finished up and what I've been working on. But yeah, I decided to do some crocheting, and then I don't know, I think my friend told me she was having a baby, and since then I have picked up the knitting needles and started to knit again. And I've gone kind of on a bit of a crazy obsession knitting baby things for her new baby, who happens to be my godson, which is great. And so I've just kind of been in a bit of a knitting frenzy for him, knitting lots of little baby bits and pieces and teaching myself new techniques, and I seem to have not stopped. I realised that I don't know as much about knitting as I thought I did. I didn't realise that there were different styles of casting on, other than the long tail cast on and the cast on with the two needles, the traditional one. I didn't realise there were different ways to cast off. You know, there's so many things I have been learning since taking up my knitting again, and I haven't stopped since I've started. I've enjoyed doing it, and what I tend to do is kind of alternate between the knitting and the crocheting. If I get a bit bored of the knitting or a bit tired of the knitting, then I'll pick up my crochet hook and I will crochet something. And what I wanted to do by coming on here with this video was to share with you some of the things I've finished and some of the things that I'm working on, and also share with you what I'm trying to learn currently. So hopefully this will be an interesting video for you. If you're into crafts, knitting, crocheting, then this will be something that you may be interested in. If you're not, then I totally understand, and you know, just click off the video. But anyway, so I'm going to start by showing you just a couple of my finished objects, because most of the things I've worked on that I finished up have been gifts, and I've given them to the people that they were intended for. So there'll be pictures on my Instagram, Ellinesscrafts Instagram channel, so you can look at them there. But I do have, for example, this cardigan that I've made. None of these are my own design, by the way. I'm following patterns. I'm not at the stage where I can design something for myself and just get on with it. I'm still kind of I don't know if I would call myself an advanced beginner, but I'm at the stage where I'm happy to follow a pattern. I'm trying to remember certain techniques for decreasing, increasing, that kind of thing. So I'm still at the following pattern stage, and I'm not sure if I'll ever get to the designer stage, but you know, never say never. So this is one of the things I recently made, which is a cardigan. And it has these big pockets. It's not quite the fit that I wanted. I did go to, I think it was a 42 to 44 chest or something, but this is a Stylecraft special chunky yarn that I used for this. And I've done, what is it called? Fisherman's rib, I think it's called, where you knit into the back of the stitch on the knit stitch and then you purl. But it's got this kind of turned collar here, and it's supposed to have 2 buttons on it, but I haven't got around to doing the buttons yet. But you can see it's a bit of a snug fit. Before I blocked it, which is another thing that I've learned that you should do for crocheting and knitting, just to make things lie in the way they're supposed to. I'm picking up things all the time. Yeah, before I blocked it, it was a little bit tighter. The pattern was a little bit closer, so it was more kind of stretchy. And you can see it still doesn't hang quite the way I want it to, because I like to wrap things around like that. But it's wearable. The sleeves are perfect in length. I think if I was going to do the cardigan again, I would like it a little bit longer than it is, because it's just literally at the top of my butt. And I like things to be long and oversized for my cardigans. But yeah, so this is one of my items that I've finished, and I'm pretty pleased with it. I am thinking about doing another one, but not straight away, and I'm kind of trying to think how I can adjust it to kind of make the front section a bit bigger, but not the back. I think the back is fine, but the front panel is just not wide enough, so I don't really want to attempt it just now. Maybe it's the yarn that I used. Maybe I just need to go up a size. I'm not sure. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Anyway, the next one is socks. I've been learning how to make socks, and I've learnt the cuff down socks. I had a pattern for that by Winwick Mum, and I followed that and made some cuff down socks. I've got them on at the moment, so it's pretty difficult to show you. I'm sorry for this really bad way of showing you these socks, but I have them on, so that's what you get. So yeah, I was pretty pleased with those. I made those using a design print yarn, something like that. It's on my Ravelry page. Check out my Ravelry, which is Ellinesscrafts as well. It'll be on there. All the information as to these, what I've made, will be on there. But yeah, so I've made cuff down socks. These ones were toe up. These were the last pair of socks I made, because I've been trying to teach myself the toe up socks, which is what I'm working on at the moment. Let me get my sock blocker, just a second. Let me show you that. I'll show you with my sock blocker. I've been following other people's podcasts, and looking at lots of Instagram's pictures, and I realised that I could do with a pair of sock blockers, and that would kind of make my work look really good. So yeah, so these are the socks that I have made most recently. These are toe up socks, and I used, what did I use? The knit through back loop increase for the toe in 4 sections, and I was trying to finish up a yarn that I had, a black yarn that I used for my husband's tank top. So I kind of decided to incorporate it in the toe. You can see there's a jog in the colouring here. Not quite sure what I did, but it's not the same on the other foot. So I did something right on this foot, but I did something wrong on this foot. But you know what, it doesn't really matter, because they're for me and I'm just learning. So yeah, so that's that. So that was like a knit through back loop increase for the toe, and then I did a German short row heel, which again was something new to me. This is the first time I've been used the German short row. I had to watch some Very Pink Knits videos over and over again to kind of follow that, and I bought one of her patterns so I could see what I had to do with that. That's what the German short row heel looks like on my socks, and you can probably tell there are two different types of yarn here. So this one was the Fable, not Fable, I keep saying that, Design Print, and this one was the Design Fable. This is more fluffy, and I really like this one. I think I might buy another one of these. Difficult to knit up because I kept getting the strands separated. This one was a lot easier because it's more I don't know, what's the word, plied, I don't know, but it was tightly spun. That's more tightly spun than this one. So anyway, I was trying to use up the two yarns because I had yarn left over but not enough to make 2 complete socks, and the idea for me was to just use up the leftover yarn and then I could buy some new yarn. And what I did was I did the foot bit and then I did the cuff when I ran out, and the same with the other sock. I had enough to do the 2 socks, but you know, anyway, and then I finished the cuff bit with the black again that I used for the toe. But what was I going to say now? I'm rambling. I was thinking in hindsight I could have done a stripy sock with this and that yarn, just to alternate the stripes, and it probably would have looked a lot better. But do you know what? It is what it is, and I will know for next time to be a little bit more creative with my leftover or scrap yarn. So that was the most recent project, the toe up, using knit through back loop for the front there. And I think I did for this one I used the provisional cast on, and it's really lovely and seamless, and I like that. I like the way it looks. For this one I didn't. You can see the difference. So that one you can see that it's pretty seamless there. That's provisional cast on, which is another thing that I'm learning. The different methods of casting on the toe look slightly different on the in the end when it's finished. So you can probably see the line there going across. You see that? I'm not sure what I used for this cast on. Was it the Judy's? I think it may have been Judy's Magic cast on that I used for this, because you can see there, hopefully you can slightly see the line across there. That shows up more on this than it does on the provisional cast on. You can't see it on the provisional cast on, so that's something for me to note. I like the way that the provisional cast on looks, very neat. So yeah, so those are the most recent finished objects. On to my works in progress. I have one crochet, actually I've got quite a couple of crochet projects, but I'm just going to show you this one for now because it's close to hand. I have lots of scrap yarn that I've decided that I want to use up. I was buying lots of magazines when I was teaching myself to crochet, in the hope of getting some free yarn, and they usually come with like 4 balls of free yarn, a pair of knitting needles and a crochet hook, and I really wanted the crochet hook and the yarn so I could practice my crocheting techniques. And so I kept buying these magazines, and then I've got to the point where I'm like, well, actually I haven't read the magazines and all I'm doing is getting the magazines for the yarn, so I stopped doing that. And now I've kind of got lots of little balls of yarn that I figure, you know what, just use them up and then I can start buying what I actually want, so I can actually complete projects and have whole blankets looking the same and more patterned and what have you. Anyway, I'm rambling. So I've decided to use up the scrap yarn I have and make, I don't even know what to call this, whether it's going to be a blanket, a bedspread, I don't know, but I'm calling this is what I call my ugly granny square blanket, because it's got all kinds of colour matches in here. I've taken a picture of it and put it on my Instagram page, not Instagram, my Ravelry page. That's what it is. So you can probably see I did swatches basically. Some of these were swatches just to see how they would look. So I was messing around with this waffle stitch, and I did this in the blue, and I only had one of these. So I put that in there because I didn't know what to do with it. And the same, I tried it in the cream. I wanted to see what it would look like in the cream. Created a swatch, quite a big swatch, but a swatch nonetheless. And I didn't know what to do with that. Then I tried a basket stitch as well for crochet. And I've got a couple of those. There's the other, yeah, there's a couple more there. And then I also did this from a pattern book. This was a pattern I was trying to figure out, filet pattern they call it. And I was trying to figure out whether to put this into another blanket that I'd made for my daughter, or bedspread. There should be a picture on Instagram, or video footage on Instagram of that blanket. It was a nice pink one, pinks and purples, and I was trying to figure out whether to put this in, but I found it so difficult and so fiddly to work on that I only did one of these, so that just got stuck in a bag. And then I thought, let me just stick it in this. And you can probably see the rest of them are pretty much ordinary granny squares with just variations in colour, but you can probably see that for stitching them together I used my single crochet technique to stitch a few of them together. And then I thought to myself, like halfway through, or on the next time I wanted to stitch some squares together, I thought, do you know what, I've never tried the join as you go method. So then I decided to start trying the join as you go method, and so some of the granny squares are joined using join as you go. You can see there, let me try and hold this up, it's really awkward to hold, there you go. These ones are joined using join as you go, and here, which I've learned from watching YouTube videos. Again, I've been watching Bella Coco quite a lot for my crochet tutorials. And who else do I watch for crochet? Honey Blossom, I think it is. There's a number of people that have got really detailed and close up videos of the work and how to do certain stitches and stuff. There's loads of them on YouTube, and I found them really helpful, and I just kind of take from them what I can and adapt it to what my needs are. And I tend to be watching Bella Coco quite a lot. She's very clear and very slow and very detailed, so I really like watching her videos. So I used her tutorial to join the granny squares, join as you go method. So I've been doing that for the last round. You can probably see some of them are on a green background, some of them are with navy blue, because I ran out of the green, which was the intention to use the green. So then I started to use the blue that I had, and then I ran out of the blue, and then I thought I need to buy another ball of yarn so that I can actually make this into something useful. So it's quite big at the moment. Not sure how well it covers me. Look, I can wrap it around myself. That's how big it is. So it's quite a big blanket at the moment, but I do have more that I want to add to it, and I need to, the back is a real mess with the join as you go method. Lots of strings hanging, because I've just been literally doing the squares and not, what's the word, what do you call it? When you tidy away the extra strings. I've not been tidying the strings away, so I need to do those when I finish it, and that's going to be quite a bit of a job really, because there's quite a lot of ends I haven't woven in. That's right, I need to weave the ends in. So that's that one. So that's one of my crochet projects that I have been working on. I do have another two that are similar. Let me show you the next one. Hold on a sec. My next work in progress crochet project is this blanket that I'm making. This is, what do we call it? This is, oh my gosh, corner to corner, that's what it is. This is a corner to corner blanket. So it looks like that. It's like a shell stitch, and I've used different pinks and purples to create this. And I'm nearly there, but I've put it down in favour of my knitting, and that's where I've got to. So I've just got to do this bit now to finish it off. That'll take a short while, but yeah, that's where I've got to. I like this. I'm trying to decide whether to keep it, gift it, or try and sell it. But that's my other crochet project. This is using double knit yarn, and these are all Stylecraft yarns. That I like using Stylecraft. It's really nice and soft, and I got the idea from Bella Coco because she uses a lot of Stylecraft. So that's that one. I have another crochet project which is not really much of a project, so I'm not going to show you that. I'm just trying to use up the odd bits of yarn that I've got that I've had from other projects that I don't really know what to do with. I also have onto knitting. I have just started a couple of days ago these toe-up socks. I had a pattern from Very Pink Knits for toe-up socks in DK weight yarn, and I think they were called lace toe-up socks. I'll try and leave a link in the box below. And I wanted to try and do it using 4-ply, so I've kind of written down the instructions that she used for her pattern, and I've just adjusted it to fit the 4-ply version. And these are for my daughter. I bought this Regia yarn, or Regia, I don't know what you call it, but this yarn, very pretty. I thought it was like ice cream kind of yarn. That's the way I would describe it. 4-ply yarn, very nice. And I'm doing these toe-up socks for my daughter. And I discovered stitch markers as well since doing my knitting. These cute little stitch markers I got from an Etsy shop. I think it's called Rebecca's Room. Or no, not Rebecca's Room. I've got some from Rebecca's Room and some from another person. Wow, I'm going to have to try and remember to link them in the description box below, because these are really cute little stitch markers. Anyway, so this is my toe-up sock that I'm doing for my daughter. So this is knit through back loop increase for the toe. I started off with 10 stitches. The yarn is like a, what do they call it? Fair Isle. It's a fake Fair Isle. Imitation Fair Isle type yarn. I think it's really pretty. I haven't quite got to the heel yet. I've been watching videos this morning trying to decide whether to just continue in this kind of tubular style and then try and do an afterthought heel, which is something I've never done before, or whether I just continue with the toe-up sock, do the heel, and then go right up to the cuff, and then try the afterthought heel for my next pair. And I may do that. That's I'm kind of verging on doing that. But this is the first sock, sock 1. So hopefully it won't be long before I get this one finished up and I can move on to sock number 2. But I'm liking this. I love the colourway, and I think it's really pretty. My daughter likes it. I'm going to be doing that in a size 4 for her. Then I have this pattern that I bought from Sirdar, this one here, that I want to do for my daughter, this jumper dress she wants. And so I picked up the same yarn. It's a Sirdar yarn, just as the pattern requires. Sirdar Crofter DK yarn, which is this. Really soft. It's so lovely and soft. It feels lovely and soft when it's knitted up. And I've got this far. I'm on the back, because they usually start with the back. I've got this far. But the thing about this project is I'm trying to teach myself a new style of knitting. So I've been trying to do the flick knitting that Very Pink Knits does, and that what is her name? Knitting Expat, Mina I think her name is, from Knitting Expat, how she does it. I've seen a lot of people do their knitting and they go really fast, and I want to try and improve my speed a bit, but also pick up a new technique. So I started off trying to do the flicking method, and that's how I've done this. And I do notice that it's changed my tension to what my tension is normally on point. I'm normally on gauge, but my stitches are coming up a lot looser using that. And then I decided to I watched a few more videos. I keep watching the same videos over and over again and trying again. And then I came across the continental method. And so I've been trying to do the continental method and see if that's any faster, because I'm finding the flicking quite difficult when it comes to purl. And also kind of, because with the flick knitting you hold both needles in, you hold the right needle and you don't let go of the needle. Normally I'm used to doing the English style, which is how I learnt, where you do your knit, you let go, wind round, do your knit, wind round, and I'm pretty fast at that, but I just wanted to try something different, and I tried the flicking method, and that one I really have to think when I'm doing that so I don't let go of the needle, and that one's very tricky. So I've been trying the continental style as well, where you hold the yarn in the left hand and wrap that around your finger as you would do for crochet, and I quite like the speed of the knit stitch for that, but I think I could get faster doing it that way. But it takes a lot of practice. It will take a lot of practice. So I'm kind of trying to do the continental style and the flick style knitting while I complete this jumper dress. So that is the thing about this. That's the kind of the catch about this project. So those are my works in progress currently. I also just decided to start doing a pair of, what are they called? Wrist warmers. Last night I had a brainwave and I decided I wanted to use up this chunky yarn. I used some of this to make a hat for somebody else, and I've got this much left, and I thought, why don't I give it a go trying to make some wrist warmers with it and see if hopefully I've got enough yarn for that, not sure. But I started to kind of improvise a pattern in my head using the stitch count from a mitten pattern that I have, and just improvise and reading up a little bit online, and I've got this far with this wrist warmer. I'm just doing a basic 2x2 rib and then stocking stitch. I've left a gap for the thumb, and I'm just going to do stocking stitch until I get to maybe my knuckles, and then I'll start doing rib. I'm not sure if I need to go that high or if I stop like just below my little finger. I don't know where I need to stop before I do the rib. Maybe I should start in a couple of rows, because I am here, maybe a couple more rows, and then start doing rib from there, and then just finish my rib just before my little finger. But I'm kind of, this is like a work in progress improvisation kind of pattern. I'm just playing about with it. If I don't like the end look, then I can always frog it, so it's not a big deal. It's just me playing about with something, and I'm doing this in a size 5mm circulars, which are too long, so I'm having to do the magic loop method for this. So that started me thinking that I need to buy more needles. I need to buy 5mm DPNs, or maybe 5mm I don't know, 25-inch needles, just so I can work in the round more comfortably. Which is another thing that leads me on to, when it comes to my socks, I've realised that I needed to use these little sock needles that I have. I didn't show you the needles, did I? I got Addi needles, which I'm loving, and the fact that they're small, it's very tricky to start off with, but they're very cool. I love being able to knit with these. I can take them on the train and everything else. Very easy to work in the round, which is a technique I am learning, working in the round. I've learned so many different techniques, but I'm going to have to go right now because my battery is flashing up as dying, and I don't want to cut off this video, but I have to. If you guys are interested in hearing these types of videos from me, do let me know in the comment section below, and I'll try and do more, because I have a lot of things and I just have no one to talk to about my knitting. No one shares my passion for this stuff. So let me know in the comment section if you are interested in seeing more of this kind of video from me, and I will try and do more, which will include, next time I'll include what I'm learning a bit more, how I'm getting on with the things that I've been showing you. Anyway, gotta go, my battery's gonna die. Hopefully you will